welcome back to the channel. Today, we have something truly spine-chilling for you. Get ready to hear about 3 terrifying true pit stop horror stories. These stories are not for the faint of heart. So buckle up, turn down the lights, and prepare to be terrified. Our first story takes us to the desolate plains of West Texas, where the stars at night are big and bright, but they offer little comfort to a lone traveler named Sarah. It was late, the black velvet sky was sprinkled with stars, and Sarah was exhausted. She had been driving for hours, her eyelids heavy, her head bobbing with fatigue. She knew she should find a place to pull over and rest, but the emptiness of the highway unnerved her. Just when she thought she couldn't drive another mile, she saw it, a beacon in the desolate landscape, a lone gas station shimmering in the distance. Relief washed over her as she pulled off the highway and into the deserted gas station. The pumps were old and weathered, the paint peeling under the harsh fluorescent light that illuminated the station with an eerie glow. As she stepped out of her car, a shiver ran down her spine. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline and something else she couldn't quite place, a musty metallic odor that made her nostrils twitch. She glanced around, but the station appeared deserted. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the distant howl of a coyote. She walked cautiously towards the convenience store, her hand instinctively reaching for her pepper spray in her pocket. The bell above the door jingled as she stepped inside. The air inside was stale and heavy, as if it hadn't been circulated in years. Dust caked the shelves, which were sparsely stocked with outdated snacks and drinks. Behind the counter stood a man, his face obscured by the shadows of a Stetson. He was tall and lanky, with a gaunt face and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. He wore a faded denim jacket over a plaid shirt, and his jeans were tucked into a pair of dusty cowboy boots. He didn't greet her, didn't even acknowledge her presence. He just stood there, his cold blue eyes boring into her. "Excuse me," Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. "Could I get some gas, please?" The man didn't move. He just continued to stare at her, his silence amplifying the unease that had been building inside her since she arrived. "Hello?" Sarah tried again, her voice a little louder this time. "I just need some gas. Can you help me?" The man slowly reached down and picked up a rag, wiping down the counter with slow, deliberate movements. "Cash only," he finally spoke, his voice a low growl. "Okay," Sarah said, her hand trembling as she reached for her wallet. "Cash is fine." She paid for the gas, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As she walked back to her car, she could feel his eyes on her, watching her every move. She quickly got into her car and locked the doors, her hands shaking so badly that she could barely get the key in the ignition. As she pulled out of the gas station and back onto the highway, she glanced in her rearview mirror. The man was still standing there, watching her, a faint smile playing on his lips. Our next story takes us to the back roads of Maine, where a family's road trip takes a terrifying turn. The Millers, John, Mary, and their 2 young children, Emily and Ethan, were on their annual summer road trip. They cherished their time together, and these trips were filled with laughter, singing along to their favorite tunes, and the thrill of the open road. As dusk settled, casting long shadows, John noticed he was running low on gas. "We need to make a pit stop," he announced. They spotted an abandoned rest stop, shrouded in shadows. The faded sign promised restrooms and picnic area. Despite the unsettling quietness, John decided to stop. It was late, and the kids were restless. As they pulled into the deserted parking lot, an eerie silence descended. The air grew heavy, thick with unseen tension. The rest stop, once a haven for travelers, now stood desolate and forgotten. Its crumbling facade whispered tales of long-gone laughter. The children felt a shiver as they stepped out of the car. their youthful exuberance dampened by the oppressive atmosphere. The once bright playground equipment was now faded and peeling, the swings swaying as if pushed by an invisible hand. As John filled the gas tank, Mary took Emily and Ethan to the restroom, her maternal instincts screaming to keep her children close. The restrooms were dark and dilapidated, the stench of stale water and decay assaulting their nostrils. The flickering lights cast long shadows, making the mundane seem menacing. Suddenly Emily tugged at her mother's hand, her small voice trembling with fear. "Mummy, I hear something." Mary listened intently, her heart pounding. At first she heard nothing but the wind whistling through the cracks. But then she heard it too, a faint scratching sound from the far stall. "Hello?" Mary called out. "Is someone there?" The scratching stopped. Mary held her breath, listening for any sign of movement. Just when she thought it was her imagination, the scratching started again, louder and more insistent. Fear gripped her heart as she slowly pushed open the stall door. The stench intensified, making her gag. But it wasn't the smell that made her gasp in terror. It was the sight that greeted her. Scrawled across the stall door in what appeared to be blood was a single chilling message. "Get out!" Panic surged through Mary. She grabbed her children's hands and rushed them out of the restroom. "John, we need to leave. Now!" she shouted, her voice laced with urgency. John, sensing the fear in his wife's voice, didn't question her. He quickly ushered the family back into the car and sped out of the abandoned rest stop. The image of the blood-red message seared into their minds. As they drove away, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something sinister lurked within the shadows of the abandoned rest stop. They had escaped, but the terror of that night would forever be etched in their memories, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. The Millers' road trip was forever changed by that night, a haunting reminder of the unknown lurking in the shadows. Chapter 3. The Haunting of Route 66. Our final story takes us on a road trip down the iconic Route 66, where a group of friends encounters a haunting they'll never forget. Route 66, the Mother Road, a ribbon of asphalt that embodies the spirit of adventure and the allure of the open road. For decades, it has beckoned travelers with its promise of freedom, its diners serving up slices of Americana alongside steaming mugs of coffee. But beneath the nostalgic veneer of Route 66 lies a darker history, one whispered in hushed tones by those who know where to listen. This is the story of three friends, Jake, Emily and Ben, who embarked on a road trip down this legendary highway, their laughter echoing through the vast expanse of the American Southwest. They were young, fueled by the spirit of adventure and a thirst for experiences that would forge memories to last a lifetime. Their vintage Mustang, a symbol of their shared love for freedom and the open road, roared to life, ready to chase the horizon. Their journey was a tapestry woven with laughter, shared stories, and the thrill of discovering hidden gems along the way. They dined at quirky roadside diners, their jukeboxes belting out classic rock and roll tunes, and they spent nights under a canopy of stars, sharing dreams and aspirations. But as they ventured further down the dusty highway, a palpable shift occurred, a subtle change in the atmosphere that sent shivers down their spines. It began subtly, a flicker of movement in the rearview mirror, a whisper of a name carried on the wind. They dismissed it at first, attributing it to their imaginations playing tricks on them after long hours on the road. But as the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows across the desolate landscape, their unease grew. One evening, as they pulled into a deserted roadside motel, its neon sign flickering erratically, they encountered the first undeniable sign that they were not alone. The motel, a relic of a bygone era, stood as a lonely sentinel against the backdrop of a fiery sunset. Its vacancy was palpable, the silence broken only by the mournful whistle of the wind. As they stepped out of their car, the air grew heavy. thick with an unseen presence that sent goosebumps erupting on their skin. The motel's windows, like vacant eyes, seemed to follow their every move, and the rusty swing set creaked ominously, its rhythm at odds with the windless night. Inside the motel office, cobwebs clung to the corners like macabre decorations, and dust lay thick upon the surface of the deserted check-in counter. A musty odour hung in the air, a blend of decay and something inexplicably unsettling. As Jake reached for the bell on the counter, hoping to summon the absent proprietor, the lights flickered violently and then died, plunging them into an oppressive darkness. A collective gasp escaped their lips as fear, primal and instinctive, surged through their veins. Then, from the depths of the darkened motel, they heard it, a blood-curdling scream filled with such raw terror that it seemed to reverberate through their very bones. The friends fled into the night, leaving behind the haunted motel and the unseen entity that resided within its decaying walls. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying tales. Remember to be mindful of your surroundings, trust your instincts, and perhaps, just perhaps, think twice before stopping at that deserted rest stop on your next road trip. And remember, sometimes the scariest things happen when you least